Welcome to Community CPA's 3 p.m. webinar. We have these webinars every day except for Sunday, and we like to go over topics that are relevant to accounting, small businesses, but on Thursdays, it's kind of our special day. We bring in our guest speakers during this time. So today we have Jordan and Brianne from the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Jordan, if you wanted to just introduce yourself first and share a little bit about your role, and then I'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jordan RIchardson, Director of Charitable Giving here at the Community Foundation. I have the opportunity to work with professional advisors, their clients, individuals, families, businesses, and nonprofit organizations to promote charitable giving. We're going to talk a lot more about that in the next few minutes.
Great, thanks. And I work on the Community Foundation's other side of the house, as we think of it, on the community investment team. And my role is to work with nonprofit organizations on capacity building, and then also to oversee our competitive grant making program. So we'll also talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes.
Perfect. So Brianne, this one is directed at you, but Jordan can fill in as well. Our first topic, can you tell us about the mission of the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines?
Great, thanks. Well, we are a nonprofit organization, and we are mission and purpose driven. And so the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines improves the quality of life for all by promoting charitable giving. So promoting charitable giving is one pillar, connecting donors with causes they care about, and providing leadership on important community issues. So our philosophy is really that we are simply better together, and we really work within the community to, I would say, help people, companies, entities that want to get really strategic about their philanthropy, to do that in partnership with us, and then to help the nonprofit sector to connect with donors who, have the capacity to give, and in many cases to give extremely generously with their mission. So that's really central to what we do, that promoting charitable giving, connecting donors, and providing leadership. So I'll talk a little bit more too about community leadership. We have numerous initiatives in Des Moines that take a lot of collaboration. I think when we think about the vision for kind of what is the best version of Central Iowa and Greater Des Moines that we can imagine, there are some key partners who help to convene and bring different organizations together kind of to advance that goal. And so, for instance, we've taken a leadership role in the skate park, which you'll see if you go to downtown Des Moines. The finishing touches are going up right now. We've helped with children's crisis mental health planning, which is an important topic. It's not something that you'll see in the same way as you'll see the skate park, but that really needs kind of coordination and philanthropic support to help kick off. So that's another example of our community leadership. Helping to launch Central Iowa centralized intake for the homeless or unsheltered community, so that they have one number to call when they're experiencing homelessness, and they can get plugged into a number of different shelters. And then other examples, Central Iowa Water Trails, looking to the future, and we've really taken a central role in that. And so we can bring together stakeholders from the business community, government, and nonprofits to help advance those missions. And we really work with our donors to keep them clued into, what are the most pressing opportunities, issues within our community. And so that's how Jordan and I kind of work hand in hand, is advancing those nonprofits and then making those connections with donors so that we can achieve that community vision that we're striving for.
Perfect. And this seems like those are big projects that you're targeting in the community. So that's great. So the second question, maybe for Jordan. What does the partnership look like for people or companies that want to work with the Community Foundation for their personal or corporate charitable giving goals?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I do want to add one more caveat to Brianne's answer for the first question regarding our mission. And for those of you watching this, Catherine mentioned that you're maybe coming not even from Des Moines, with offices in Iowa City and Bloomington, and wherever you're listening from today, there are community foundations across the country. And while Brianne articulated our mission statement here in Des Moines, the mission statements might vary a little bit, but the mission itself is going to be pretty much the same. So for those of you in Iowa City, the Johnson County Community Foundation is a great resource, as is the Cedar Rapids Community Foundation. Up in the Twin Cities, the Minneapolis Foundation and the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundations are great resources for you as well. But we'll talk at least at a local level here for most of our time today here in Des Moines.
Mm-hmm. And we do serve as the host community foundation for affiliates across the state as well. So thanks for adding that. That's great context, Jordan.
So on to question 2, how do people or companies work with us? And I'll just leapfrog off of that first question to try to launch into this one, where if you think about that mission again, Brianne articulated the 3 pillars of promoting charitable giving, connecting donors to causes they care about, and providing leadership on important community issues. Whoever you are, whether you're an individual or a family or a business, if one or more of those pillars mean something to you, if you're looking for a resource to help you promote your own charitable giving, or to get yourself connected to a new organization, or you just want to be a part of the bigger story, part of the leadership that's happening here in Greater Des Moines, we might be able to be a good resource for you. And in a lot of my work, what that ultimately boils down to are giving through charitable giving funds. And I'll talk a little bit about individuals first, just because I think that's probably most of the engagement here, and we'll talk a little bit about businesses too. But when we think about individuals and charitable giving funds, we often go to this tool called a donor advised fund. If you're not familiar with that, really, really great tool that provides a lot of efficiency and strategy around charitable giving. Maybe inappropriately simplistic explanation of it is it's a charitable checking account or a charitable investment account. And here at the Community Foundation, we have a couple thousand charitable giving funds, and the power of that comes into play where, just like we all want to be organized in our financial lives, we want to be organized in our charitable lives too. And if we can have this donor advised fund at our disposal, where you give into that when it's right for you as an individual or as a family or as a business, and then that account lives for a period of time, sometimes for multiple generations, to support charities for extended period of time. Where just like with your own personal checking account, you can take withdrawals out of that at any given time. With something like a donor advised fund, you can take distributions to charity from that donor advised fund over an extended period of time. It just really expands the opportunity for charitable giving. In that interim, you have the opportunity to invest your charitable dollars, hopefully to grow them over the long term. And then the other piece I wanted to share about today is, well, what does our staff have to do with that? What does the Community Foundation team do? Where do we come into play? And I'll just say, whoever you are, whatever your charitable circumstances, I think we can provide some really good value to you. And I'll just sort of tick down from most simple to maybe most complex. At the most simple level, we want to support you almost at an administrative level to bring organization to your charitable life. I mentioned that as a value proposition of the donor advised fund, but just in general, we at the Community Foundation are here to help things stay organized. And with that donor advised fund, for example, fast forward 20 years from now, we retain all of the history of your giving, so you can see exactly who you gave to, at what dollar amount, at what date. Really, really helpful for someone like Catherine that's a tax professional, that they can look at that too when they're doing your tax filing and have access to your charitable tax documents as well. We also then write the checks in your behalf when you're ready to give to charity, which is just another way that we provide some organization to you. And then a little bit deeper down into our available services to individuals and families and businesses is almost like an advisory or consultative approach, where this is really something where Brianne and I in our two different roles can come together on your behalf. We meet with many families and businesses and sit around the table physically or virtually and just talk with them about where are the areas of interest that mean a lot to you. And sometimes it's us coaching them on, we see you giving to these organizations. Let's talk about some projects within those organizations that are really impactful and fit your DNA. And other times, we really start from ground zero, and the individual, the family looks at us and says, hey, we don't even know where to start. And we can be, a true advisor or ambassador or consultant for them to really push them in a direction that maybe they didn't even know they were headed there, but the writing was always on the wall.
Sometimes, and I'll just jump in, Jordan, with you, sometimes families need that kind of facilitator to help them sort of give voice to or crystallize around what are their values. It's hard. It's something that we feel deeply called to, support the environment for some of us, or, maybe foster care and adoption is really important to others, but there isn't always a space to explore that and to kind of get on the same page as a family about, where are you going to invest back into the community and how is that going to kind of fulfill your personal mission. So we have a really great relationship where, Jordan knows the nuts and bolts of all of the tax implications of everything and why, giving more towards a donor advised fund in 1 year might be really, strategic for a family. And then maybe they're kind of thinking about, or a business, and maybe thinking about long term, we want to make a really significant impact in this one area. What's going on in our community that we can do that with? And I think that's where Jordan and I really, work together and team together to have those conversations and bring value and voice to those goals.
Perfect. Okay, so we talked a bit about the donor advised funds, particularly for individuals. So can you explain some of the tax advantages of having a charitable giving strategy? Like what would be the benefit of having a fund versus giving directly to the organization, and the benefit of working with the community foundation in this area?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just share 3, and benefits are more broad and complex than that. And to Catherine's point earlier, we're telling some stories. There might be some more practical, specific details for your own personal situation that you can talk about with your tax advisor. But the first one that always comes to mind for me, just because it's so unique to the community foundation, is the Endow Iowa tax credit. And that tax credit is an incentive for giving to Iowa charities and giving in an endowment capacity. So the idea is that your gift exists in perpetuity, where there's a small percentage that is carved out of that gift each year to support the charity you care about, so that gift lasts for a long time. And that tax credit is 25% of the gift. And there's no minimum for it. There's a maximum. It's pretty significant. Doesn't even come into play very often, but we really see a lot of value, again, for both individuals and for companies in tapping into that Endow Iowa tax credit, just because 25% credit is a pretty significant tax benefit. And that's something that you can do either through your own personal fund. I talked about donor advised funds a second ago, or we have a whole list of nonprofit organizations that hold their endowments with us, and even giving directly to their endowment at the community foundation could provide some eligibility for tax credits that way too. The second benefit that comes to mind for me is around this area of what we call non-cash gifts. So when I think about charitable giving, or maybe when you do, the first thing that comes to mind is pulling out a checkbook or pulling out a credit card. But in reality, cash gifts, while that accounts for most of the charitable gifts in the country in any given year, might not always be the most efficient strategy for you. If you think about all of the assets you have, cash is probably one small sliver of your entire asset base, whether it's a piece of real estate or investment accounts or retirement accounts, insurance policies. There are all these other assets that are out there that are available potentially as charitable gifts. And one place where the Community Foundation comes in, sometimes even as just an intermediary, is to facilitate complex gifts like that for the benefit of your own charitable giving and for the benefit of the charity that's receiving it. I had a conversation with someone just this morning where there was an opportunity to give stock to a charity, and that charity didn't have the ability to receive that. So we got to play the middleman role of receiving that and then handing off the proceeds. So something to think about when you think about your giving is maybe going beyond the checkbook or going beyond cash. And there's a lot of power there from a tax perspective. And then the last piece that I wanted to share today is this idea of the IRA charitable rollover. And this is a tax benefit for individuals that have an IRA that are over 70 and a half years old. And we're going to try a little bit of technology here. And I have a video I wanted to share with you. It's about 1.5 minutes long. It does a good job of describing this tool.
Okay, let me stop sharing and try to hand that over to you. Okay, I think you should have access to share screen.
And while Jordan's working on that, we work with individuals, families, corporations, and there we go, partner there. Go on ahead, IRA rollover. We can't hear it, so we might have to change the audio a little bit, or you can narrate over it.
Well, let's do this. For those of you that are watching live, I'm just going to drop into the chat. Here, I'll stop sharing my screen. This is a link to all of our videos, that being one of many. And if you're not watching live, if you're watching the recording later on, I'd encourage you to go to DesMoinesFoundation.org. And the easiest way for me is to just search our website for videos, and you'll see that right there.
Perfect. Were there any pieces of it that you wanted to mention now about the IRA charitable rollover before
we? Thank you. So what you would have seen in that short video, or would have heard maybe more specifically, that tool, like I said, it works for individuals over 70 and a half with an IRA. And the key for that tool to work is that you as an individual make a distribution directly from your IRA to charity. So you don't take a distribution for yourself and turn around and write a check. The check goes directly from your IRA to the charity. And if you do that, it's a tax-free distribution for you. For anyone on the call that's over 70 and a half, and maybe others that are just well aware of how IRAs work, otherwise that's an ordinary income taxable moment for you. So the benefit there for you as a taxpayer is that you're able to relieve yourself of what otherwise would have been a taxable moment.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. So the next question for Brianne, so for the nonprofit side, how does the Community Foundation work with the nonprofits as a grant maker?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we give about $50 million comes out of the Community Foundation every year. And the vast majority of that is through the donor advised funds that Jordan was talking about. Individuals, families, groups giving through the Community Foundations to the causes that they care about and that are very important to them. At the beginning, I talked a little bit about community leadership and how the Community Foundation has that as a core pillar of what our mission is. And so we demonstrate community leadership in a couple of different ways. And one of those ways is through our competitive grant making programs. In a normal year, which this hasn't been a very normal year, we have 2 competitive grant programs, and that's around capacity building. So helping organizations with those kinds of strengthening projects like strategic planning that they might not often have funding support to do, but that's very important for the long-term strength of organizations and their governance and management. We also offer capacity building trainings for both nonprofit staff and board members. And then we do our leadership grants, which are much larger grants in the range of about 25,000 to 250,000. And those are for those projects like I described in the beginning that are really kind of transformational projects for our community. They can hit a wide variety of priorities, everything from health to environment and community betterment. And we've seen many different examples throughout the years of the Community Foundation kind of stepping in with a leadership grant to really elevate a project for the community. And I think that's a way that many of you may have heard of us is hearing about those kinds of investments. I did want to share also, we're really proud to have relaunched our Give DSM platform. So I'm going to pop that link into the chat as well. And this is a platform that we have created to empower nonprofit organizations to really share their funding needs with the community directly. We know that we can't fund everything through our competitive grants. And so we've launched this, it just relaunched in the past couple of weeks, this website to really help organizations directly share a variety of needs. Everything from, as you'll see, the West Des Moines Historical Society, they might have a number of projects on there, to Orchard Place, or really the breadth of our nonprofit community. And you can actually filter and Give DSM by your own giving goals or priorities, and you can search by your favorite organizations as well. So that site has some enhancements that we're really excited about, some robust opportunities to really see where you can lean in and be charitable. So thanks for showcasing that, Catherine.
Yeah, no problem. I know that I love that it's a platform that we can search for those type of organizations that align closely with what
You
our
can search or discover new ones, who are doing work in an area that you might not have realized were out there.
Yeah, awesome. So last one, I think can go to any of you. When should an organization or business leader reach out to the Community Foundation?
Sure. On the nonprofit side, I'd say, we have a really open door policy for conversations around, what are you being challenged with? What do you need some resources or help with? So I'd say on the nonprofit side, any sort of capacity building inquiries, we're happy to have conversations around. And we do host community circle conversations twice a month, which are open conversations and open trainings, really similar to what you're doing here now, Catherine, for the nonprofit community. So I'd invite any of you out there on the nonprofit side to join us in those.
It's virtual, correct? Currently, yes.
Yeah, and for individuals and businesses, I would say, we hear from those two audiences most often when there's some sort of transition moment or milestone moment. So for a business, if it's, we've reached a new level of size as a business and it's time to start thinking more critically about our charitable giving, or for individuals, we often see that with, if you're a business owner selling your business, or for any individual, for getting close to retirement age, or life changes, those are the sorts of things that tend to trigger. But really, anytime that you as an individual or an organization want to talk more critically about your own charitable giving, we're always a phone call or an email away.
Wonderful, thank you. Any final thoughts that you'd like to conclude with? Otherwise, I will share the contact.
Yeah, I just say consider us a strategic partner. When you're thinking about giving back and kind of plugging your purpose into the community, we are here to help you kind of think through different options for making a bigger and better impact. personally for the good of us all. So that's what I would say is my final or parting thought. Oh, and I had put on our LinkedIn information as well. So if you are active on LinkedIn, you can follow us at the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines. And I popped our events into the chat as well. You're welcome to join us. All of our events right now are virtual, and I think most of them are free.
Perfect. So these are the contacts for the foundation. So you can go to their website, and I know that if you do that, there's a staff directory, and you can feel free to reach out to those that are within your interests. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to email me, Catherine@communitycpa.com, and I'm happy to pass along any questions to Brianne and Jordan.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Thank you all.